Hello and welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. We've got Vance.
I'm undercover as myself.
Whoa, we've got Chris.
Okay, hey.
And I'm Kia. Hi, welcome to the show. Today we are reading an artist and a writer and a subject matter, I think, that we've never really read before. We're reading Scalped by Jason Aaron with art by R.M. Guera. I think we've wanted to read some stuff by Jason Aaron for a little while here. Of course, also we're going to be reading Superman for All Seasons. We're on issue number 3 at the end, so stick around for that. But yeah, Jason Aaron has... let's see. Most recently, he did that Thor run where he created the Jane Foster Thor, which is a little topical right now. He had some Wolverine and the X-Men that we were talking about before. What else has he done?
He did. That's his big stuff for Marvel. Is his Thor run that runs a really long time. He created the villain also of Thor 4. That just came out. The character Christian Bale plays Gore the God Butcher, which is really good. But also, what else has he done? He did Southern Bastards, I think, is also like his big like creator-owned title besides the one where we're reading today, Scalped.
Yeah. After this one, I believe.
Yeah, they may have been slightly concurrent, but I don't think for long. And then I love his Punisher Max run, where it's with Steve Dillon, the late Steve Dillon, and it's like 24 issues, and the Punisher takes on the Kingpin for a really, really great run. It looks a little like a classic Garth Ennis run, but it's got Jason Aaron's kind of interesting quirks about it that I really like, and I just like Aaron in general. He's not my favorite writer, but I don't think I've ever read anything bad of his, although he has done a few Marvel events, so I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure that it affects everyone. Yeah, he also did the Wolverine. He had a run that was well received. Get Mystique, I think, was the first arc of that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever actually read anything by Jason Aaron until right now. Maybe something that I just didn't realize was by him, but I'm pretty sure this might be the first. This was you were talking about Southern Bastards. I think that was like mid 2010s. This was 2006, 2007.
Yeah,
was when Scalp started.
50, 60 issues, so it's probably into 2012, 2014, probably there.
Yeah. It's a story that takes place on a Native American Indian reservation, and just kind of dealing with some Fed stuff, some interconnectedness with drugs and casinos, and all that kind of stuff. I guess we'll kind of see as we get into it here.
It's noir on a reservation. It's
yeah.
And it's interesting because it really does play into the real life problems that exist on Indian reservations. This is just from a recent article. It's I guess 4 years old now, but this article is titled "County in the U.S. Has a shorter life expectancy than Sudan's," and it's about this Lakota reservation county in South Dakota where it's. The average life expectancy is 66.8 years, so over a decade less than the average life expectancy in the U.S.
Wow. Yeah, it definitely comes into play here in terms of the just poor living conditions and general poverty among the reservation,
and like historical lessons that are coming into play in terms of a lot of political turmoil that happened in the 70s that I sadly wasn't aware of. Until I started reading this book. It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it is. It's also, I mean, it's very fictionalized, but there is a grain of, there is a somewhat famous FBI a murder case involving an Indian tribe from I think 1974 or 75 that this story is very heavily influenced by. And of course there was the real the taking of the Alcatraz Island and there was just a lot of protests from, basically the late 60s through the 70s of, Indian tribes basically being like, hey, we're in terrible poverty and no one's paying attention at all. And then it's not like the situation drastically improved. But basically the federal government was like, well, we'll let you, have your own, tribal sovereignty. And isn't that something? So it's I guess better than nothing.
Yeah. And I think we're talking about all that stuff a lot. That does sort of, it's there, it exists, it is kind of like the backstory, but it's not really also like the forefront of the story either. It is very like Vince. It's a very noir story.
It's a noir story with a rich background and rich setting. Right. That's very unique among like stories written by white men.
Yeah. But I think let's just jump right into it. I don't think there's anything else we really got to say. Yeah. We'll kind of learn more as we go. I guess because actually, did y'all read the introduction in the trade by Brian K. Vaughan?
Yeah, I did.
He starts by insulting like every other writer, and so I'm like, I'm not going to read this.
Yeah, it's a bold choice, Brian. Paper Girls is now a TV show, by the way.
Oh yeah, I saw a little ad for that.
I was like, oh okay, well maybe that'll last longer than Why the Last Man. It took 15 years to make and lasted like 10 weeks, but what a time.
Oh man. What a time. All right, so let's jump into this here. Issue 1. I will say this wasn't my favorite issue. Maybe it just like took me a while to get into the story and what was going on, so maybe my notes aren't the greatest here, but hopefully we can piece it all together. We're on the Prairie Rose Indian Reservation in South Dakota, and the first like 5 or 6 issues I was like, what the heck is going on? There's some bald guy attacking a bunch of people, and there's lots of cursing and just a lot of fighting. And I really, by the end of like this arc, I did like R.M. Guera's art. I think it fits really well. But at the beginning, everyone is just like, I can't tell who is who. I can't tell who's fighting. It's just a lot of cursing. But he gets beat up, this bald guy who's like, the bald guy is our main character. This is Bad Horse. And
Dashel Bad Horse.
Dashel Bad Horse.
I'm assuming an homage to Dashiell Hammett, the noir writer.
Yeah. Makes sense. I did not even think about that. But he, he's tough. He came in looking for trouble. He fought like 15 of these folks on this reservation, and they eventually take him to their boss. The boss is Red Crow. He is the leader of this reservation. He kind of knows a lot about Bad Horse. He knows his mom was a slut. He knows that he ran away from the reservation when he was 13. He knows how to scalp someone, and then the camera shows us somebody that I guess he's very recently scalped right at the side of his desk there. And, they have a little bit of a back and forth. Bad Horse is kind of a badass, a little bit of a silent type. But Red Crow kind of keeps talking. I think Bad Horse is like kind of saying like, yeah, the cops are going to be back on you any minute. You'll be back in prison. But Red Crow says, no, it's not the case anymore. He's the president of the tribal council. He's the sheriff of the tribal police force. He's the chairman of the planning committee. He's the treasurer of the safety program. He's the managing director of the casino. He's kind of got his hand in everything. And so like political, whatever, he's a little bit untouchable. No problems with the law anymore. And he has decided, okay, like I could kill you, I could scalp you, I could torture you and pry off your fingernails or whatever. He says, no, instead I'm going to give you a chance and let you stay alive. Clearly you're like very tough. You were able to fight 15 of my men without issue. And I could use someone with like full Native American blood because I'm tired of all these half-bloods. And so he says, you're going to be on my police force. And that's that. So 3 days later, he is now part of a raid on a whorehouse. And some woman named Gina runs out. She ends up being a pretty important character later. My initial notes are like, who is this lady? So Gina.
This is funny because I read all this. So I'm like, oh, okay. And then I'm like, oh, they reveal who she is in his relation to him. Like 3 pages later.
Pretty quickly.
I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I guess we went in this scene not knowing how she was related. She just thought she was some lady like a prostitution ring or a meth head or weapons that he was. Something
like that. Yeah. And she's like, hey, what's going on here? Why are y'all raiding this place? And they're like, oh, we're raiding it for guns and explosives. And Gina's like, no, we don't have any of that stuff here. And some of the guys who run her are like, yeah, we had that stuff here. But they are like they're like the more hippie side of things. They're the protesters who think that Chief Red Crow is not a good leader. He's corrupting their tribe with guns and gambling, and so they kind of want to fight back against him. So that's essentially our two sides on the reservation. You've got the protesters and and Chief Red Crow, who is just evil. But Gina is indeed.
He's a complicated dude. We'll learn
is it?
more.
Yes. There's a lot of complications. Nobody is exactly good or bad, I guess. But I would say everyone is bad.
Everyone's bad, but I think that there's like they've been forced into like interesting situations. Like
right.
she's like not. I wouldn't even say like hippies necessarily. Like they are like the activist. It's close to terrorists sometimes. But you know, freedom fighters.
Activist is probably a better word. Yeah. I think the others in the story keep calling them like hippies, and so I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Maybe they don't. I don't know. Maybe I'm writing that in myself. Yeah. So Gina is Red Crow's mom.
No, Dashiell Bad Horse's mom.
I'm sorry. Yes, Dashiell Bad Horse's mom.
Gina Bad
She
Horse.
recognizes him. Gina Bad Horse recognizes Dashiell Bad Horse, and he like attacks her, like slaps her or something.
No,
and
she slaps him.
She slaps him? Is that what happens?
Yes.
I feel like, why did Diesel have to come to her aid? Somebody comes to her aid.
Because he puts a hand on his gun and is like, you just slapped an officer of the law. Why shouldn't I arrest you? And then Diesel, a blonde guy who is with Gina, then puts a knife to his throat.
Diesel is not going to be important later. Not Kevin Nash.
I mean, Diesel. Not in this series. He's a major character in the comic.
Okay. He never comes up again in these first 5.
Yeah, he comes back. Like I said, he's a very major character. They're introducing almost all of the major characters right off the bat.
I see. And then they announce, okay, now we find out that Gina is his mom, and we're like, whoa, all right, there's something going on there. Then the Chief Red Crow takes Bad Horse on like a little tour to Whitehaven, Nebraska, to see one of these other little villages. There's this town that I guess has like huge beer sales.
Well, it's imagine your alcoholism problem.
Well,
yes.
Did we finish the first issue?
No, we're still in the first.
No, we're still in the first issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a jam-packed issue. They're laying down.
It's pretty big. There's a lot going on in these. I think in these 5 issues, this is like one of the most dense 5-issue first arcs I've read in a while. But it's like he's getting her he's getting him a congratulations beer for his first day on the job, and for
getting in a fight with his mother.
For getting in a fight with his mother,
as you do on your first day at the gig.
And coming out of the store is Red Crow's daughter, buying, I guess, beer with her food stamps. She is a slut who Bad Horse used to love, and that's that. We get a little flashback where she's like, "Hey, Bad Horse, you can watch me pee if I watch you pee first." I'm like, all right. So that's what we're dealing with here. Red Crow has kind of like, I don't know if he's disowned her or she's like doesn't care about him, but she's just kind of her own thing and doesn't care about her dad at all.
Right, and she's married a guy who is not an Indian,
yes.
But he's not apparently living anywhere near her, and so she's just, I guess, living it up.
Yeah, she's living it up all day, all night.
And her last name is now Elroy, in a reference to James Elroy, who wrote like LA Confidential.
Yeah.
Damn, didn't get that at all. Makes sense though. So Red Crow and Bad Horse talk history for a little bit. About how they've been fucked over by the U.S., et cetera, all that kind of stuff that we were talking about.
Bad Horse explains all that, and Dash is like, I don't care about any of this.
He doesn't care.
You're going to have to, because we're going to learn more about that.
Being the tough, badass cop guy who's just like, I don't care about this.
Mm-hmm. Then we cut to these agents who are trying to bring down Red Crow. These federal agents, Nitz and Newsom. And they suck too. Everybody in this book sucks. They're like reading pornos, talking about Redskins, all that kind of stuff. Just being real douchebags. And they're on their way to some meeting point, and they meet up with Special Agent Dashiell Bad Horse. He's undercover in there. Oh my God, undercover as himself. Who would have thunk it? And that's where we end the first issue, on that nice little cliffhanger. And that, I will say, that like kind of brought me back into it. During this whole first issue, I'm like, I just don't care about any of these characters yet. Everybody's an asshole. But I don't know. It at least hooked me with that little bit of the twist there.
Okay, well, there's a character that I guess we'll get to that is in the first issue, but he's not named in this first issue, so we'll mention him when he shows up again.
Is that our cowboy in the shadows?
Yes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I didn't notice he was in here until later in issue 3 when he's more explicitly a cowboy in the shadows and not just a drunk cowboy.
Yeah, I have a note to mention him in issue 3. We can talk about him more then, I think.
Yeah, he does show up in this first issue. He's actually on the first page, but
yeah,
kind of is showing up throughout, but you don't know his name yet, so we'll bring him up. Okay, cool. I'm back, so let's keep going.
All right, awesome. So jumping into issue 2 here, we kind of see this first scene between these feds and with Bad Horse. Agent Nitz is like the agent that's in charge of this whole thing. Newsom, I guess, was unaware that they were going to be meeting a Native American, and he's like a little bit pissed about the whole thing, I guess. But he's not too important. Bad Horse.
Nitz is the one that's real important. He's going to figure in.
Yeah, Nitz is way more important than I thought he was going to be too. He ends up being like, oh, all right, you're a big deal here.
Yes, he's also a very major. Like him and Red Crow are kind of the, two sides of the same. We're not so different, you and I. Kind of.
Yeah.
my favorite was it's like Tao and Lynch from Sleeper by Ed Brubaker, which is a reference for nobody. Where Dash is caught he's basically going to be caught in between two people pulling the strings trying to get him to fuck the other person over. I do like this issue though, because this is now Dash is like going to go over like the last 5 days and like how his job sucks.
Yeah, Dash hates his job. He's like, I'm going to get killed in here. I don't want to be undercover right now. And so they flash back to him, to Bad Horse, like busting up a meth lab. And he gives, I thought this was a woman, but maybe it's just like a young dude with long hair named Dino Poorbear. So Poor Bear is like I not part of the meth lab. They are just like, okay, I just hooked up with these people here. I live over on Fool's Crow Road. Just let me go. I promise I won't get involved with meth stuff again. So Bad Horse says, yeah, sure, whatever. Then we have just a whole bunch of busting up meth labs. I guess that's Bad Horse's detail right now. Meanwhile, Red Crow is talking to some reporters about this opening of this casino that he's working on getting opening. It's a real big deal. Everyone's focus is on this right now. He's like, hey, welcome to the poorest country on earth, all that kind of stuff. A new officer that we haven't met yet, his officer Falls Down is his name, Falls Down, comes in and he like takes some drugs like right from where they are like with Red Crow there, and he's like, yeah, everyone knows the police here can't be trusted, so I'm just going to take these for safekeeping. Ha ha ha. He's like trying to embarrass the chief in front of the reporters.
Right.
Yeah, he, I guess, is like, he doesn't work directly for the chief. There are still some cops there that aren't like super under his purview. And then we get Bad Horse and Falls Down. They go to like file a report on a car wreck, and we learn a little bit more about Falls Down. And Bad Horse is like, yeah, that's your real name? He's like, yeah, we're not all named after animals. And back to the present. Bad Horse is just like, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing here. And like this is the kind of main framing device for the next few issues here, where Bad Horse is just talking to these federal agents, and we keep on flashing back into his experiences. 3 days ago, he ran into his old love, Carol, who I don't know if she got named in that first issue where we met her, Red Crow's daughter, Carol, the town slut. She says that he broke her heart. And then she comes on to him, and he turns her down. And the husband shows up, and he's pissed. Then 2 days ago, some council members got mad at Red Crow for hiring Gina Bad Horse's kid. And they're like, hey, you're getting all soft for the protesters, huh? We're trying to bring her in. And then we have Red Crow is on the phone with some guy named Lister, who is like a burned man. Is that the deal with these people? Like, they're just burned?
I'm not sure if I'm confusing it with another story or something, but it seems like his thing was setting a lot of fires, his arsonist. Basically, he's going to kill some people. But we don't explicitly know who Red Crow's hiring to kill. It's strongly implied that Red Crow's hiring Lister to kill Bad Horse and probably
Right.
Officer falls down also.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna
and
say, it turns out it's not. It's a red herring that you think he's going to kill Gina. He's that's the furthest thing from his mind.
mhm. um, I like this guy's character design, but I was also very confused by it at first. I was like, "Who is this literal zombie sitting at a desk, like agreeing to have someone killed?" Like,
Yeah,
okay,
I guess
cool.
it's issue 2. We haven't established whether or not this is a supernatural Vertigo
Yeah.
book.
That's
or not.
also yeah. I figured it wasn't supernatural, but it was like, all right, this guy looks real fucked up. A little bit two-faced, a little I don't know.
Yeah.
So Bad Horse is like telling these agents, like, man, I am being set up. They are trying to kill me, and they're like, man, if Red Crow wanted you dead, you'd already be dead. And like, man, you weren't there. We walked right into a bloodbath. And then 18 hours ago, we see them getting ready to walk right into this bloodbath, which is the cliffhanger for issue 2. So jumping.
Yeah, I
go
like
ahead.
this issue though. I think it does a good job of like three-dimensionalizing Dash in a way that like the first issue doesn't. Like the first issue was all everyone's like, this guy's very stoic, he's very much a badass, and and then you get the twist of like he's an FBI agent and he's fucking scared out of his mind, but he's like putting that whole front on. So that's not the real Dash, and I think that that's an interesting wrinkle to the story that I think we get based off of this story of him like telling the reality of his emotions versus how he actually was like displaying it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. This is before The Departed, but after Infernal Affairs. There's a lot of that where he's just like, playing like an angry young man. He is like being very neurotic and crazy, like doing this. Like it's having an effect on him.
Yeah, this is very much Departed era. Yeah, because Departed. He was also undercover as himself.
Right. I mean, it's like I said, Internal Affairs had already come out, so
Yeah.
it may have been an influence on this. But this is before The Departed, which is very similar in terms of like we're sending you. Everyone knows who you are. They don't know that you're actually a cop, and so we're sending you to join this criminal organization.
Interesting. Yeah. I never thought of it that way.
I was definitely more into it at this point. I still wouldn't say I was fully on board. I think it was somewhere around 3 or 4 where I was a little bit more like kind of gradually, just like, okay, I'm kind of into this now. Where, all right, let's just jump straight into it. Maybe it's because there was a cool gunfight here at the beginning. I don't know.
And cool art. I think the flashbacks are done very coolly in this issue.
Yeah, that was it. I think gradually the art grew on me more and more. Where I think in the first couple issues, like the art is good. It's generally on the, I don't want to call it muddy because that feels like an insult, but it does have that kind of like very thick outlines, very shadowy, and sometimes a little bit tough to distinguish characters. But the further in you get, the more you're just like, okay, yeah, I start to recognize who everybody is. I know who we're talking about. There's less and less new characters, so I think that has a big part of it as well. But yeah, jumping straight into issue 3, they walk into this shed for this gunfight that's about to happen. But Dashiell's also flashing back to when he saw someone getting killed against the wall of this same barn, I think, or maybe a very similar barn. Was this his dad? Are they like flashing back to him watching his dad being murdered? That's what it felt like.
I don't know if it was just some random person that like shot themselves or what.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a few things that I wasn't quite sure what to make of, but his mom was like, Dashiell, you look at this, man. You burn this vision into your memory. And so Dashiell's like just remembering it as he sees this barn and they're about to head in there. And they go in, huge firefight. It's Bad Horse and Falling Down are going in against the burned people. And Falling Down gets shot. He's not dead though. And Bad Horse pretty much shoots everybody else. Doesn't kill everybody, but shoots everyone else. And back to the present, the federal agent Nitz is like, all right, good job. I hope you didn't go like messing up your relationship with Red Crow after that. But Bad Horse kind of did do that almost. He goes, like storms into a council meeting. The bouncers won't let him in, but he beats them up. And he like right at the end of this council meeting, everybody's still in the room chit-chatting, and Bad Horse just like puts his gun up against Red Crow's neck, and is like threatening him. Red Crow says, "Hey, he didn't set him up. It was probably somebody else in this room. All these people own meth labs, and they're probably pissed at you for busting out.
You have pissed off a lot of people in these last 2 issues.
Yeah.
On my behalf, yes, but
then he's like leaving the council meeting. Dashiell Bad Horse is leaving the council meeting. His mom sees him there, and he like tries to talk to him for a bit, and Dashiell just is not interested at all. Goes after, here's like a domestic disturbance call over on Fool's Crow Road, which is where he made that new friend. So he heads over there, just gets away from his mom and doesn't talk to her at all. He arrests somebody over there for domestic violence stuff, throws him into the back of the car, and then he like hears a car like rushing off in the distance, like going crazy on the road. And so he goes after it, and it is his old fling Carol, Red Crow's daughter, who has got a black eye that her husband gave her. And she kisses him and just drives off again. Okay, a little bit of a weird scene. I thought she was being chased by another car or something. No, she's just kind of going on a joyride. Yeah.
I like the scene too with Dino, where it's just like, oh, you again, where it's just like this like little brother syndrome, where you're like, this kid is a dead meat.
Yes, I do like this Dino character. He was like, hey, can you teach me like some of those sick moves you were doing? Like, you can come back here if you need anything. I got you covered, man.
Yeah.
This is where I was like, oh, okay, this is a kid. This is a boy. I thought it was a girl from earlier.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like once your Dash's like little buddy, you're like, you're dead. Like something terrible is gonna happen to you.
Probably. Lister, meanwhile, the burned guy. We also haven't mentioned this guy on the old horse has been this old guy on a horse has been watching all of this, and we've seen him like throughout the first 3 issues, just like watching all this, being like, oh boy, storms are coming.
Yeah, at the end of issue 2, you see that he's actually watching the FBI meeting with Bad Horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say he's our first cowboy in the shadows, but I feel like Preacher probably had a cowboy in the shadows. And like in I don't remember this, but I'm just gonna bet in true like Vertigo fashion, this dude's gonna have his own issue, like Festus's tale or whatever.
I thought Festus was the horse.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever drunk guy or cowboy in the shadows his name is, like issue 26 will be about him. In a classic Vertigo fashion.
Or maybe
he's a very major character, Vince.
Okay,
so.
Well then, yes. He's like the
Saint
Killers from Preacher.
Catcher is his name, yeah. He knows everybody. He knows Red Crow. He knows Gina. Like, he's from that generation, and he appears to be, like, very inebriated every time we see him.
Yeah. We'll learn a little bit more, but not much. So Lister, meanwhile, the leader of these burned men, goes to apologize to Red Crow for not killing. He didn't kill either of his targets. He didn't kill Falling Down or Bad Horse. Although, I guess, we're not 100% clear on who was the target there, but I guess it was probably both.
Well, no, it was Falls Down. I mean, he's like, Red Crow even says, he's like, look, I knew Bad Horse was going to kill some of your men, but I thought you could at least kill Falls Down. Because it also turns out, and this is kind of the first big twist, is Red Crow is getting rid of his own associates. Like, Dash he's using him to kill his own guys. Because they know where the bodies... Did we find that out
in these first 5?
Yeah, is that why
he literally says, he's like, you know where all the bodies are buried, don't you? He's like, yeah. He's like, well, you've outlived your usefulness.
Oh, that's true.
So he is getting rid of his own crew because they know too much about his own past.
That makes sense.
Is that why he's busting up all the meth labs right now too?
Right. So because he's like, well, Dash doesn't know me, and so I can use him to get rid of all these people that could, if they wanted to testify against me, they could conceivably say something, but now they're all dead.
But if you hired a cop that did know Red Crow, he'd be like, wait a second, Red Crow's going to turn on me at some point.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense.
I
was wondering why he brought him in the fold so quickly, and why he was. I mean, like, I was like, Red Crow's clearly like a crime dude. Why is he fucking up meth labs unless they're competition? But that makes sense too. He's now trying to, because the casino is a big deal and a big money maker for the tribe, or for him more accurately.
Mm-hmm. Right. I think this is when I got a little bit more on board, because I was like, okay, let's prune some characters out of here. We don't need this Lister guy anymore. I'm happy with that, and I just kind of like. I had a solid handle on everybody at this point, I think. We get back in the present. Bad Horse is still just saying he wants out. Nitz says, "Hey, I'll send you back to Alabama as soon as this job is done. As soon as you get me Red Crow, or have you forgotten what I can do to you with one phone call?" All right. So Nitz has something on Bad Horse and why he's making him do this job. Okay. And then we see this old guy and his horse Festus. And he's confirmed. He's spoken to the thunder gods who've told him about the weather. And he confirms there's a shitstorm coming through. So then I guess technically these first 5 issues are kind of like 2 mini arcs back to back. The first 3 was like the intro, and now 4 and 5 are a little bit more focused on flashbacks in the past. Although it really does all feel like one kind of connected arc here. We start with a flashback to 1975, where Red Crow and Gina and was it
Lawrence is his name.
Lawrence.
I don't know if Lawrence was mentioned when they talked about it very briefly, this incident a couple issues ago.
And Lawrence for a second I thought was Dashiell's dad, but it was not, right? It's someone totally different,
or was
another
guy? I think he's just kind of a younger guy, a younger
Lawrence
activist.
Yeah. Okay, so Gina and Lawrence are like hanging out, and they find like they've kind of fucked up, and some feds have ended up dead, and they're like, "Oh my god, I said no fire, no gunfire. What the hell happened?" We do find out later Red Crow is the one who killed these feds. And Gina's all pissed about it, but like everybody's kind of in trouble here. In the future, Red Crow shows up to talk to Gina and says, "Gina, you got to get away. I can't protect you anymore." And Gina is yelling about those people he killed back then, and she like holds a picture of Lawrence up and was like, he's in jail for this. I guess Lawrence is the one who ended up taking the fall for it. And Gina. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if it's explicitly here, but he like ran out of appeals. Like he's doing life in prison.
Yeah, and like I kind of was starting to pick up on a lot of these things, and it does get confirmed within the next couple of issues. And I was like, okay, this all makes sense. It all tracks.
Yeah, okay.
And Gina's like,
gotcha.
Yeah, and Gina says, "You know what? I will not mess with the grand opening of your casino. I'm out of here, but I will be back. You'll pay for everything you've done. Blah blah blah." So she starts driving through town looking for Dashiell Bad Horse so she can, I presume, say bye to her son before she skips town. But she's like constantly missing him. There's like time stamps of her like just following in piece by piece, and they're like, "Oh, you just missed him. Give him back this crowbar," and stuff like that. But he is now, it's like early afternoon. He's in Whitehaven, Nebraska, watching Carol have sex with some guy in a car. And he gets a summon on his walkie-talkie. Red Crow wants him to come have a meeting with him, and he's like, not busy. But he eventually finally heads back. Everyone's getting ready for the casino. His little friend Dino is there now, working as a janitor. And Red Crow's like, "Hey, you should stay away from my daughter." And Red Crow's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And then at 5:30, he heads back out to watch Carol some more. Yeah,
Carol's getting around today. Carol's
she's getting
got
around.
A lot of paramours around town.
Yep. Meanwhile, his mom is still looking for him at the casino. Just missed him again. Bartender there is like, "Hey, want me to tell him something?" And she's like, "Just tell him." And then we see memories. Just tell him. We see some more memories. Just tell him I wanted to see him. Oh, so sad.
Yeah, we don't get what happened, but Dash skipped town and skipped the family at like age 13. Yeah.
Now, Red Crow is sleeping with somebody, presumably a whore of some sort, and he keeps saying Gina's name. Interesting. Interesting.
He's probably just remembering an episode of Martin he saw.
That's gotta be. And then in this last scene, we get a little bit more clarity here. We get this flashback to where Red Crow did shoot those people. Gina's pissed directly at him because she said no firing, and now the feds are on the way. And Red Crow's like, "Hey, everything's going to be fine." Red Crow kisses her. Oh, my God. They were an item.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. And then jumping into issue 5, we're still in this flashback mode, but we're like 3 more years in the future. I guess these murders happened in 1975, and now we jump to 1978, where they are celebrating for beating this murder rap. And we learn, oh, that's right. We learned that Dashiell's dad was named Wade. And this is when I wrote, wait, who's Lawrence then? And Red Crow is just like, he's just celebrating. He's trying to drink a bunch, but nobody really wants to drink with him. Nitz shows up in the past.
They've just beaten a murder,
the murder charge. Yeah. So they're super happy. Nitz showing up here was when I think this is when I was like, oh, this stuff's real connected here.
Yeah,
so
that's
Nitz
exactly what I was
shows up.
like. I was like, oh, Nitz is here? He's not just some rando
past?
federal agent. Now he's dead.
He's like connected.
Yeah.
He's drunk and he's like talking shit about all these folks, saying that it's a travesty that they got off, that he knows that they did it. The men who died were good men. He's not going to give up till they, they're all taken in. And he says, you know what? We picked up Lawrence and we're going to charge him for the murders. And I'm going to take you all down. And Gina's like, no, that Lawrence is a good boy. He didn't do anything. And Nitz just says, I don't care. Y'all are all going down. So I was like, okay, but I think that's the moment that definitely was like, all right, now it's all connected. Now I understand what's going on.
Yeah. So Nitz is now upgraded into like much more interesting character and much more like bigger deal. And also like the way he looks at Baby Dash. I don't know how old.
I was gonna say Dash is in the bar as like a 2-year-old.
Yes. Yeah. And he's just a little baby.
Which then makes this like, oh shit, have you been like plotting on getting Dash on your team like this whole time?
Yeah, well, he has.
He has, yep. We are now at the casino opening, and the reporters are asking Red Crow, hey, how can you justify spending $97 million on a casino when the average income on your reservation is so low? And
$3,000 a year. $3,000 a year.
That's just, oof, yeah. And why did you overturn prohibition when you have the highest rate of alcoholism in the country here? And we don't get answers because his daughter, Carol, shows up to slap him and call him an asshole and say, you can't tell me who to sleep with. Whoever you have follow me around beating up all these guys I'm sleeping with, tell them to stop. Call them off. Now, meanwhile, Bad Horse is getting drunk at the bar. His bartender was like, oh, yeah, you're Dashiell Bad Horse. Yeah, your mom was here looking for you. And now we kind of learn why Dashiell doesn't want anything to do with his mom. He was like, yeah, she had all the chances in the world to talk to me. She was busy like protesting for the environment instead of being around and being a mom. I was like, damn. That, it makes sense. She was never there. Had the chance to be with her son, and she didn't take it. So
Gina's a complicated figure. She's got a lot of things that she's got to help the tribe and help Native Americans.
Yep. Now we get some more flashbacks to Nitz here, talking about how he wants Dashiell as an FBI agent or else he is resigning. And he's making his case, talking about how this kid was a fighter, was in the army, then he left. And
it's a great page. Like this shows really Dash's entire like career from like football to like learning martial arts to being a UFC fighter, an MMA fighter, I guess, to like being in Kosovo. Yeah. To being in Kosovo, like in a small, like a 7-year span in the 90s.
And he's been like watching him and kind of not necessarily grooming him, but like, keeping an eye on him. And he's like, yeah, he'd be a good fit. He does not want to go back to the reservation. He hates it. But he's very much a cowboy, and he would be perfect for what he needs. And his other fellow agents are telling him to leave this all alone. He's like, no, I'm going to get them. So then we have Bad Horse shows up at Carol's place while she is with some guys right then and there. And she's pissed that he's been beating up her guys. And he was like, well, you haven't had any problems finding more. So they get out of there. The guys get out of there, and she like takes her top off and was like, you want to hit me or you want to fuck me? So they fuck. And then we see, this old guy with his horse is now entering his shack, and he's got like tons of cutouts of stuff everywhere. And I'm like, is this the dad? Who's this guy? How does this guy connect to the past? Still don't know, but we know he knows a lot about what's going on here. And then the next morning, we see Gina's car out in the desert, and we see Gina's body lying in the desert. She's been scalped. Dang. Hell of a cliffhanger.
Yeah. We also see Catcher has like a crazy man, like billboard or not billboard, wall in his little shack that he's got everybody pinned up. He's got FBI agent for Bad Horse. He's got Red Crow's.
What's his name? Catcher.
Catcher. Yeah, that's the old cowboy's name.
He says that later, like right at the panel where he has like no butt. Time to man up, Catcher, old boy.
I see. Okay, I thought maybe that was like I don't think I knew that was his name.
Yeah, maybe that was his own butt. No, that's his name. I think the second arc, you figure out a lot more about who Catcher is and like what his deal is. Which again, he's a major character, so it doesn't take long for him to be a big deal. But he knows kind of what's going on. You also see he's got guns in his shack, and then we see Gina is dead. Never got a chance to reconnect with her son.
Yeah, which did kind of shock me. I kind of thought that like she was gonna come back and maybe be like create some drama later when things are a little bit more settled or something. So a little disappointing, but it is what it is. Good first arc though overall. I think I will say we've read a decent amount of like little bits of noir stuff here and there. I don't think it's my favorite genre. I know Vince, you really love noir.
I do.
And like I like this. I don't dislike it or anything. I don't know if I'm like invested though. I don't know. Part of me is curious. Part of me wants to see what happens. But part of me is like, okay, it's fine.
Yeah,
what it is.
I'm trying to think like where I was, and I was curious to see how you would, because this arc is not like a complete story. It's like table setting.
No,
a lot of table setting.
But it's good. It's good table setting though.
Right.
Like I can definitively say I did not like the first issue, but like if I went back and I reread the first issue, I probably would like it now. You know, like just because there's nothing inherently wrong with it. It was just like you just kind of need to get into it.
It's relying on its twist. Like it's a cliffhanger twist that's supposed to be like, okay, well that was all right, interesting setting, but now I'm much more intrigued. But that can be kind of off-putting when like, it makes more sense upon like rereading. It's a good book though. I think I might go back and reread this. I never finished this. I don't know if we said this like off air or last episode.
Oh yeah, we didn't really talk about our history with it. Yeah. Chris has clearly read all this since he's given a lot of history about what happens later. I don't think I'd realized that you hadn't finished it, Vince.
I think what happened, and this is the book got very sprawling near the end, and it's already a very sprawling book, and like you can tell that like here. Like already by issue 4, we're gonna focus like major flashbacks on the main character's mom, and like if you're not tracking, because the art is not super helpful and showing like this is what Gina looks like issue to issue, it's really hard to be like, okay, I need to remember who Gina was and she made some allusion to an event 2 issues ago, so then in issue 4 we flash back to that event, and then we're gonna have like massive like arcs based on like the character's mom, or like I'm sure Dino gets something big, and I honestly wasn't tracking that Dino was the same kid from these like 3 different issues. I wasn't tracking that. That it gets very rich and it sprawls out, so it was really hard to remember because I was reading it in trade. So every 6 months, I was coming back to it and like getting thrown deep in the deep end every time. It was very hard to read as a result.
It definitely does. I mean, it's like, a lot of comic stories where it's like Dash is still kind of, he's the main character, but it's like Red Crow is almost a secondary main character. And then, like I said, Kia mentioned that, we don't need to remember Diesel. Like there's an entire arc that's basically just Dash versus Diesel, where it's like they're just in a, kind of trying to what are they going to do with each other? Like, are they going to kill each other, or there's a big twist involving them. It's interesting. I really like this. I did think it was fun to go back to this because there is a lot of like this. The first issue reminds me so much of like the Shield and like Prestige TV of this era. Like this feels like a
Yeah.
TV pitch almost, where it's like, what a twist.
That
And then it
shield
turns
twist
out
at
that
the
the
end,
FBI,
yeah.
the FBI agent knew him the whole time. Like, that's a great twist. And it's like, and then it turns out that, his mom was killed, but who did it? Like, it's does a good job of seeding. I don't think it's too much. I do really like it, but I could see where, if you don't like that kind of prestige TV, kind of mystery, like, next arc is not going to solve who killed Gina. Like, it's going to take a while, to figure out what's going on with that. And we're going to have like flashbacks to her. And I think there's an arc that's in the next trade where it's like her spirit. There's a lot more mystical stuff that happens going forward. Like, her spirit comes to Dash in a dream in the second trade. And then you find out, I think it's Catcher, if I'm remembering right. There's a character who can basically see the like totem animals of all the characters. And so there is that sort of, it's not magical, but it does kind of open up the world beyond just straight being this is like a murder mystery kind of story.
Well, I will say that has me a little bit more interested in it, to be honest, because I'm thinking about, like, why am I not interested in it? Like, I can't see myself continuing reading this, and I think part of it is just because, like, I don't know what I'm rooting for to happen. Like, I think everyone just wants to kill each other, and everyone's probably going to kill each other or whatever. Maybe there's some twists along the way, but I think the only thing I would have been rooting for would be, like, Dashiell and his mom repairing his relationship, because I do think Gina was probably my favorite character in this, in terms of just like actually being a realistic character. Not realistic, no, I shouldn't say that, but like having the most good qualities and the most like redeemable qualities, like her biggest
say
sin.
She is pretty realistic.
Yeah.
Okay, fair. Yeah. Her biggest sin, I think, was just not paying enough attention to her son, right? And it's like, okay, that would be a story that I would want to see, as them repairing their relationship. And now that that's kind of off the table, I'm like, well, I don't know what I would read it for,
Yeah.
But,
yeah. Like I said, it does have, if you don't, and I do, like I gave up on Breaking Bad for the exact same reason, where it's just like at a certain point, it's like Dash, and everyone says it when they meet him. It's like, dude, you have a death wish. So it's just like, how much can you really invest with this character that is very off-putting when you first meet him, and makes really stupid decisions repeatedly.
Right. Yeah. I think who I'm most invested in this, though, is Red Crow, though, is the chief. I think he's such a fascinating, complex character. Like, he clearly was like an activist at one point, and then either compromised his morals, or he always was just piggybacking on a thing to get power and money, even back in the 70s. I think there's like a lot of interesting, like what happened with him, where he's at, what are his relationships, what are his goals. I think and then like how he's working like in the capitalistic world outside of the reservation for his own advantage. I think he's got so many layers and different angles, and I'm always surprised by him.
We didn't really mention it. I guess I didn't mention it, but was he, like, when he's talking about his casino, I'm maybe I'm making this up, but I feel like there was a scene where he was telling Dashiell, like, the goal of this casino is to like bring wealth and prosperity back to the tribe. Like, that's what we're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the whole goal.
But yeah. There's a show by Mike Schur on Peacock called Rutherford Falls, which has a similarly interesting chief who's also using like the casino to bring money back to the tribe, which is it's just an interesting dynamic. I guess I'm not used to the setting, and it's a good, like, what if I was in this situation, like, for characters. Like, it's a good like empathy machine for me. It's interesting.
And I know this is a comic book podcast, so people probably don't want to hear a long story about, real life. But again, I mentioned the Lakota tribe. I've never been to South Dakota, Nebraska border, so I can't. I don't have firsthand experience with that. But I do have firsthand experience with a American Indian reservation that ran a casino and that had a corrupt guy running it. So. I went, when I was in law school, I took American Indian law as a class, and our professor, we took a field trip. This is the greatest class ever. We took a field trip to the Kickapoo Lucky Eagle Casino.
I see billboards for that, yes.
Yeah, in Eagle Pass, or just outside of Eagle Pass, Texas, which is right on the border to Mexico, about 2 hours west of San Antonio. And what really happened, I mean, so the Kickapoo tribe, everywhere else in Texas, you're not allowed to have a casino. All the tribes I think it was 12 tribes or some a fair amount of major tribes in Texas all signed a agreement with the Texas legislature and the governor that said, we will abide by Texas state law. We won't have our own federal rules, and we won't, basically do anything that stops that. So that's why Coushatta in Houston is the casino like right on the Louisiana border. And Oklahoma is full of casinos, of course. Mm-hmm. But Texas law, you can't have them. The Kickapoo never signed that. So whenever they were given a piece of land on the border, they never had to obey those rules. So they opened a casino that I believe it's still the case, but when they first opened it, they were only allowed to play bingo games. So the slot machines are actually bingo. It's basically a disguised bingo, but the state government was still very mad at it. But they hired a guy named Isidro Garza, and he was making $500,000 a year to run this casino. And I think it was about 7 years. It was about 5 to 7 years that he ran this casino. And he was basically just nothing was going to the tribe at all. It was this guy and his family. He was also not an American Indian. Like, he was just a former, he was I think a Democratic state legislature candidate who had then, gotten involved with the tribe. So they essentially had a tribal meeting to remove him, and then went to the U.S. attorney for the for the Western District of Texas, and was like, "Hey, this guy's committing a lot of fraud. Do you think you could maybe want to prosecute him?" And so they did end up prosecuting him and his family of, I think, like 19, financial crimes, including, avoiding taxes, all these fraud. Now the Fifth Circuit did overturn those convictions because they said it was unfair that he had to travel 200 miles for his trial. But he then took a plea bargain because he had gotten something like 25 years in jail or something like that. So he was just like, oh no. So whenever the Fifth Circuit vacated it, he pled guilty to some of the crimes, and he was removed. So the tribe basically was able to get control of the casino back, and was able to, through my Indian law professor, they were able to get a federal, instead of shady business people like Red Crow, they got a grant from the government to give them a loan to reinvest in the casino and to employ more of their own people. So they don't have the unemployment that, they're also a small tribe, but they don't have the unemployment that other tribes have. They do have, like homes that look like, suburban homes that have running water and power, which I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but, that's not the case they had 25 years ago. So it's can be done. Casinos can be a positive thing, but it's just like anything else. Like there's a lot of, potential for that not actually helping the people when you're talking about that amount of money.
Wow. That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's a real story. You can find there's some good articles about it from the it's like 2004, I believe, is when he got arrested, but for the federal crimes, and it was a little before that he got kicked out of the reservation.
What was the name of the tribe again?
The Kickapoo tribe in, like I said, Eagle Pass, Texas. And
there's definitely Lucky Eagle Casino billboards all around San Antonio. I've seen them.
Yep. There we go. And Kickapoo Tribe of Oklahoma.com has a website. Oh, kickapootexas.org. There we go. They got
there. You go.
All right.
And you were probably going through all this when we were reading Scalped?
I had already read the first. This was the 2009, so I'd already read the first like 3 trades by the time I went and saw all this. So I was just like, wow, this is it's crazy that this really happens.
Yeah, I remember us talking about the comic and that at the time. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really realize every tribe would have their own government as well.
Yeah.
And like I know they talk about it here, and like they have the council and they have everything like that, but like it's one of those things that I think because I have no real world experience with it, it ends up being like, oh, this is just a story device,
Right.
But
I mean, so and again, yeah, I know we don't want to go too long, but it's like the way that federalism has worked in this crazy way with Indian law. Nitz is a federal, he's an FBI agent. There is no, well, with some exceptions, but if you commit a crime as a white person on an Indian reservation, the only people who can charge you is the attorney general, or the U.S. or not the attorney general, but the U.S. attorney or the attorney general in the federal system. The state can't do anything about it because you're not on state land. It's only because you're a territory of the United States. You're not in Nebraska or South Dakota anymore. So it creates this really weird situation where if you're in if Dashiell Badhorse went to a casino in Oklahoma, they could charge him tribally and say, okay, well, we have our own tribal jail. We can try you in a tribal court of, I don't know, assault for beating up goons. Which, I mean, he does it a lot in these issues. So it could happen. But the exact same thing, if it was like Diesel, who's a white guy, or at least looks white, the U.S. government would be like, no, you can't do that to him. He's a U.S. citizen. You can't try him criminally, tribal court. You can only try other Indians.
Interesting.
It's literally it creates this weird situation where the person committing the crime determines what court can actually hear the case, which is not good, believe it or not. It's actually very bad to have these administrative headaches anytime you want to do something. But like I said, the good news is that the government has, in a lot of cases, given more tribal authority to tribes and let them kind of self-determine. Because back in the 40s and 50s, there was a lot of forced assimilation where they were basically like everybody, it was almost like a missionary type of deal where it's like everybody, we're taking your children away. And I mean, it still happens, but it's like, we're taking all of your children away. We're giving them Christian names. We're not going to teach them their native languages. They're just going to not, know anything about them. Obviously, that was really bad.
Yeah.
And so Gina and Red Crow's generation is like the reaction to that, where they wanted to go back to having tribes and having, their own authority. And of course, they wanted to highlight how unfair the government's, position was at the time. But anyway, I said I didn't want to go on a big rant about that.
No, that's okay. I'm glad you did. It's one of those rare times when we have actual real world experiences that link up with what's happening in comic books, which almost never happens. So I'm glad we did take that aside.
So trigger warning, we're about to talk about a global pandemic and Superman.
I mean, you want to say the trigger warnings for now.
Scalped
has a lot of violence, including violence against women.
Nope. Saving it just for Lex Luthor creating a global pandemic, or a localized pandemic, I guess.
I will say I've been playing Yakuza 2. I just started it, and like every once in a while I see characters just like on the street or whatever, like random NPCs wearing masks, and I'm like, oh, how interesting that they've like they're aware of the pandemic in this game. Like, wait a minute. No, this was way before the pandemic. This is just like Japan. Like, people just like to be safe sometimes and wear masks. I forgot about that. Anyways, is it triggering to just like see a mask to be reminded of the pandemic? No, it can't be. Okay. So that was Scalped. I guess real quick, just to cap it off here. Good comic. I think it's worth reading. It's very definitely different from a lot of stuff that we've read on the show, but I don't know. I'm kind of torn. Part of me does want to keep reading it just to I don't know, get to that mystical stuff a little bit, but we'll see. Vince, you said you might reread it and get to the end.
To it. I probably will lose steam just because it's 60 issues is quite a bit, but man, I liked this book. Yeah. A lot.
Yeah, and they're dense. They're dense issues.
It's not on DC Infinite or whatever. Like Vertigo, a bunch of books missing. I know. I mean, I get why, because like kids have access to. I don't think they have like an age restriction kind of setup, and there's a lot of offensive stuff in this.
I don't honestly know though. Also, how much Vertigo was creator owned. Like, I don't know how much Jason Aaron owns this versus DC owns this. Ergo Warner Brothers. Ergo Discovery. I guess now owns this. I'm not
I
sure.
would think. I mean,
Yeah,
I
Discovery
don't know
Channel
what.
bought Warner Brothers from
Yeah,
AT&T in the last year. I don't know how much they own it versus how much Jason Aaron owns it outright. I feel like there was weird.
Yeah. Yeah, there may be issues with that as well, but yeah, I know there's a few Vertigo things on DC Infinite, but very, very few, and I don't think they're gonna in a hurry to add this because it is like, you do see frontal nudity, you see dead people a lot. It's pretty
Lots
gruesome.
of blood, lots of cursing, all that stuff. Do you think you'll reread it, Chris, or are you good?
I might reread the ending. I remembered this part pretty well. I had to like look at the Wikipedia to see like how it ended because I was just like, what? I remembered a few of the twists, but not all of them.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I was saying, I'd be more into it. These books were more dense than I was expecting. Like, I don't know, for a modern comic, I think they are, other than like, I don't know, an Alan Moore book or something like that. These are maybe the most dense modern comics we've read. I don't know. Is that accurate?
There's a lot going on.
A lot going on.
Well, yeah, compared to the other thing we're about to read, which I guess is a little older, but boy, is it not dense.
A little bit older. It's not dense at all. Well, especially not at the beginning. Yeah, it's not very dense at all. So we've been reading Superman.
It's 45 pages.
Oh my god. Jeph Loeb and Tim Sale. We are on issue 3, which is The Fall. This issue has been narrated by Lex Luthor, who at the beginning of this issue is being booked for prison. Do we find out why he actually was arrested? He says after he gets out on bail or whatever, talking to the press, he's like, "Oh, it's all a misunderstanding. I'm sure it'll be cleared up in the morning." But did we find out actually like what he was arrested for?
Actually,
yeah, I didn't see. Was it in the first page? I know there's a little text thing.
If there was, I missed it. But yeah, the captions at the beginning say this is a love story between him and his city metropolis. And I do like how he just he really does see himself as the good guy, even despite all the terrible things he's doing. But he gets out of prison here at the beginning, and he's trying to get back to a normal life where, he gets nicked while somebody is shaving him, and he has he's like, "Oh, it's okay." And he's talking about the public and how their infatuation with Superman, it's going to end soon because it's just a temporary thing.
That said, I really do like this one page. It's like page 11 or something, where he's like, well, now I'm gonna have to cash in favors I didn't want to cash in for this to make this go away. Like, I think that's a very interesting idea. I'm gonna have to do some bribes. This will be fun. I'm gonna have to cash in some favors I didn't want to cash in for this. I want to cash them in for some other thing. I think that's an interesting like social corruption, political corruption idea. I'm like, oh, this I think is a legitimately good page. Some of this issue fucking sucks, but this one I like. I like this one.
Yeah. We have a little meeting where Superman comes up to his Lex Luthor has this window where he's overseeing the whole city from, and Superman comes and is just flying in front of him, sternly looking at him with his arms crossed. Nothing much to it. We get from the last issue, there's that biochemist, Dr. Jenny Vaughn, who he had gotten her to quote unquote help with a project that is going to help Superman. We find out that Lex Luthor now has her strapped to a chair with her eyes pried open, watching screens about Superman. And I love this panel where her eyes are literally pried open, and it's kind of freaky with her eyes just watching these screens here. But it's also I was expecting it to be kind of propaganda, negative propaganda about Superman or something, but no, it's just regular stuff about Superman leaping tall buildings in a single bound, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they redo the Action Comics #1 cover with the guy running away holding his face while Superman holds the car over his head.
And I was expecting something a little bit more sinister, but she already loved Superman. I guess they're just making sure she really loves Superman.
Yeah,
now.
I did not understand what the point of that was. That was pretty silly to me.
It's a little silly. For such a cool image with the eyes pried open, it felt a little unnecessary. Now, meanwhile, Clark has written a letter home to his parents. I should have read this letter. We kind of got a glimpse of it here.
I kind of got bored during it, but I could not get over the fact that he wrote it on double spaced handwritten with like ruled paper. So there's like a line in between each one. He writes it like it looked like, my son's writing for like handwriting class, and I was like, I couldn't handle this. So I just stopped reading.
I mean, his letters are kind of on the big side, and I do think they would have run into each other if they were on, say if they were single space. So I guess I get it. Part of me thought that like it was bait for he wanted Lois to read it because he left it out, and he like knew he should be curious about it. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever.
I don't know. The last line of the thing that did stick out to me was blah, 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 blah. Like, I guess it's cut off, but news about LL. And I was like, oh, is this about, did they see the news about Lex Luthor being arrested? Or is this something different? Lois sees it and starts reading it. And she thought it was about Lois Lane because she saw the LL. And Clark catches her reading it and was like kind of mad at her. And was like, it's Lana Lang. Which I don't know how it took me so long to realize that Clark has 3 LLs in his life.
Well, I mean, even more if you count that mermaid.
What's the mermaid's name?
What is it? I know it's another LL name. I mean, it's literally a Silver Age like joke that Superman's like, which LL girl should I marry?
It's not adhering to like the Stan Lee thing where he forgets people's names, so he gave them like each a different letter, like Peter Parker.
No, it's like Lois Lane was in the 40s. They introduced Lana Lang, I think, when Superboy comes around. And then they're like, well, that's 2. Like, if we introduce a 3rd, now it's a bit.
Yeah. I don't know how I never realized it. I don't know. I must be stupid.
It's like how
Maybe I just never read anything that plays off it.
I never put together that both Superman and Batman's moms were both named Martha. I never put that together.
Yep, I mean, somebody's got to mention it.
I was going to say, I think the cat is out of the bag on that one.
Yeah, Clark's a little bit upset at her, but Lois is trying to turn it around on him. Like, actually, you're the one who should be in trouble for putting LL in that. It's really your fault.
Lori Lemaris is the name of that mermaid. I couldn't remember.
I'm glad people were our listeners were just like, why doesn't he know the fucking mermaid's name?
She was in the wedding issue we did. She shows up in human form.
I assume she was probably in the Jimmy Olsen book we read also.
She probably was.
Are there any other LLs? There should be more LLs. Lemmy Lolson.
Ladies love Cool J.
Cool J. Yeah.
We just watched Deep Blue Sea. That movie is one fantastic. He's fighting a shark in water, and he climbs into an oven to hide from the shark, and then the shark turns the oven on to cook LL Cool J. It's amazing.
It is a great scene in cinema history. So yes, Lois is like, really, this is and she's very sweaty and like collapses.
Yeah, she collapses into Clark's arms. And Clark's like, oh my God, Lois, you okay? And then he realizes everybody in the office has collapsed. And we see Luthor in his tower talking about justice. He's been talking about a few things. What is it? Truth, justice, and the American way, all that. He's clearly behind all this. Superman gets to action. He flies out of there. He's trying to figure out what's going on, but the whole city is... Go ahead.
I did panic, though, because I'm like, oh, shit, they're going to figure out his secret identity, because he's the one person that didn't faint. They're going to know this was Superman.
But who's going to figure it out? Everybody's thinking.
I guess that's true. But Luthor can. Luthor can, because he's like in his ivory tower, and he's... I also noticed that like Perry White was the last one to faint because he said, "Great Caesar's ghost." I guess he was locked behind his office.
So. Yeah, I thought maybe he was okay, but no, he's not okay. Everybody has fainted. And Superman changes into his costume, goes flying around. He stops a train or a monorail or whatever from crashing, and he's a little bit sad. He's got this. He's got those sad eyes. Zoom in on those sad eyes because nobody's there to thank him. Nobody to cheer him on.
Well, that's what Lex Luthor, as a fucking narcissist, thinks that Superman would be sad about.
Yeah, I'm like, why would Superman care about this?
That's true.
He's only in it for the glory, but what's he going to do if there's no one to praise him? I think that's more of a Luthor,
You're right.
embellishment.
He's just sad that everybody is passed out.
Yeah. He's like, how could I punch this problem?
I do think that is an again, I hate this issue for later reasons, but I do think this is also an interesting. Oh, this is the problem Superman definitely cannot solve. Superman cannot fight a pandemic. There's nothing to punch.
So, this isn't Silver Age Superman where he can like make one of his robot scientists get to work and whip up an antidote.
So Superman goes to Star Labs where one of the scientists was already in like quarantine for some project or whatever, and so it didn't hit her. But they presume that it's all in the air, something airborne.
That's a cool setup. I like that. That's a cool. I just happen to be doing my other thing here, but I can talk to you, I guess.
And Superman, and there's like, how do we stop it? And they're like, well, maybe you can talk with somebody who's good at biochemistry. If you talk to Luthor, so Superman goes and talks to Luthor. Luthor has quarantined his building, and he's okay because some of his floors have controlled environments as well, so that he can be safe. And so Superman was asking Lex, like, hey, why aren't you affected? And Lex is like, hey, Superman, why aren't you affected? Are you an alien? Maybe we're all in danger because we're in contact with you, huh? You ever think of that?
And I really hate this because he goes, who's to say you didn't create the virus, Superman? I'm like, fuck you, Luthor. We know that's not the case.
It's just like, who is this for? Like, this isn't in public. Like, Superman knows he didn't do it.
I guess
it's just stupid.
I can see him just trying to put doubt in Superman's mind, like making him think like maybe I am the cause of all this and Luthor's the hero. Like I don't know. I kind of get that. I do have problems with this book, but that's the least of my issues there.
Yeah, but if you were Lex, you would say like maybe it's because you've like exposed yourself to radiation or something that has caused everyone who's in contact with you to do this. And then Superman would have to be like, wait, that doesn't make sense. But at least for a second, he would think about it. Versus, you made this disease. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
I guess that's fair. That's so Lex is like, don't worry, I've been working on a cure just in case. And hold on. There's also a moment where Superman's like, man, I could punch this glass and you would pass out, and then I bet an employee would show up with the antidote. But I can't take that chance. I'm not going to do that. So Jenny Vaughn shows up, this character that has been having her eyes pried open forever. And she is in a pretty ridiculous outfit. I don't know why.
Because it's 1998 or whatever.
She's got her like Jane Fonda workout outfit with a cape.
It looks like whatever the character from the Web of Death thing that we had. It was Doc Ock's girlfriend. It's that kind of costume to me. Stunner or something.
And she has
that's a deep
like she has a giant gun with like a canister of chemicals in it. And her name is Toxin now because she's a biochemist. But I don't know why
that's not a shady ass name at all.
Not at all. I don't even know why.
Anti-toxin.
I don't know why she needs.
Antidote.
I don't know why she needs a name or a costume at all. She's just a scientist. Like in her own headcanon, she is a scientist who has created an antidote to help Superman. I don't know what the name or the costume has anything to do with it. Anyways, Superman's like, great, give me this antidote. I'll go take care of it. And Lex says, no. This is important science stuff. We can't trust you. We need you to carry her into the clouds so she can put the antidote in the clouds. And Superman's like, okay, fine. That's fine. And they fly around through the clouds. And it starts raining because this antidote is coming down and it's in the air now, and everybody starts to wake up and everyone's okay. Lois wonders where Clark is because his coat is there. Also, Luthor is talking about his dad beating him as a child, and that taught him an important lesson or something. Then they're done. Superman tells Toxin what a great job that she did, sets her down, and then her heart stops. Oh, overexposure to the virus in the clouds. Oh, and she dies. Oh no. So I guess Lex's big plan was just to have somebody die in Clark's hands? Or something? And he says, Superman, why don't you go back to where you came from? And so Clark...
but before you fail us all...
Yes.
Which Superman just saved the fucking day. Toxin Jenny wouldn't have been able to save the world had Superman succeeded. He didn't fail us all. What the fuck are you talking about, Lex?
So
and
dumb.
again, I've heard a lot of politicians fucking lie through their teeth. Some of them are my senators. But you have to Superman, you have to be like, that doesn't fucking make any sense, Lex. What the fuck are you talking about? And Superman's like, yeah, he's right. I should probably go move back in with my parents. Fuck this.
Yeah,
Fuck this.
Clark is too sad. He goes to Smallville.
Superman is dumb. Superman is dumb in this book. This whole issue hinges on Superman being dumb.
This is a very different issue compared to the first two because I did appreciate... Well, maybe... I appreciated that it wasn't just recap of stuff, but has this story been told elsewhere? I guess I should figure out first. I'm sure Toxin is a character, right?
I have to imagine. Jenny Vaughn?
I should have looked this up first. I'm looking up Toxin, Jenny Vaughn. Well, this is bringing up the Doctors Association of the UK, so maybe I should search for comics as well. But no, I think this is an original character for this issue.
There's not a lot. Jenny does not have a DC Wikia page.
I'm not getting much. So it must be an original story, is what I'm getting here. But like, why? That's a very specific. Like, I don't know.
I'm seeing this like, who would you fan cast as Toxin in a Superman movie? And I'm like, what the no.
No one.
No one.
Why would this character of all characters be in a Superman movie? What does she do?
She shoots a gun, but she needs to be carried to shoot her gun.
It's like this.
She actually came up with the antidote. She did a great job. She did a good job with that.
But why did she need her prize? Yeah, why did any of that have to happen?
This doesn't make any sense.
I don't know.
This is stupid.
It's really dumb. But like the first two, it doesn't fit in with the first two issues of this comic at all because those were just like, okay, we're getting a nice recap of Superman's history. And his history with Smallville. And then his history with Lois Lane and Lex. And then an issue where Lex tries a really dumb plan and a really dumb thing happens. And it's like it's so specific to one event compared to the other books, which were not.
Because if you want fall, and if you're trying to, and it says like
fall. What the hell did this have to do with the fall?
It was the more literal fall from grace. I guess that's still figurative. But it's like, this is the story of him changing from country boy to world's greatest superhero. So I guess he has to have a setback. But you're right. It's one event as opposed to like a fuck ton of setbacks that he could be having. Like he could be like doubting himself like in several different ways. And this one doesn't make sense. Like, why would you doubt yourself here? Like, I mean, and he could doubt himself by like letting people die and like losing to like something that he can't fight and he can't punch his way out of. But then Luthor's like, you're the one who caused this. Like, that doesn't resonate. But again, it's Luthor's narration that he thinks that's what Clark is thinking. That maybe not. That's what Clark is actually thinking.
I don't know.
But then he loses his confidence over this, and you're like, why? Like, this is stupid.
It's pretty bad.
It's
not
dumb.
good.
It's funny because
the Jeph Loeb I know.
Yeah, I was gonna say this does remind me of Man of Steel with its bullshit first hour, where you're like, "What is this crap? Just be Superman."
No, he's got to learn that he's got to keep his secret over his dad jumping in a tornado.
Stop being like, "Oh, Dad, should I save you?" Like, no, just save him. You're Superman.
Y'all can come up with the story later. What happened? It was a tornado. Who the fuck knows? I don't know. It was a miracle. I don't know.
Who
Yeah.
knows?
Fucking Superman flew by and saved me. I don't know who he is.
Save some
You
other
guys
people to
heard-
throw him off your scent that you're just saving your dad. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you heard about this guy. He saved like a bunch of people and also me.
Well,
No, he has to die so that everybody's like, well, Clark Kent couldn't be Superman.
His dad flew in a
His dad-
tornado.
His dad got sucked up into a tornado stupidly.
is Superman the worst comic book character of all time?
I mean, no, like I love Silver Age Superman. It's so fun. Like Superman is a character that is at its best when it's just fun. Like it shouldn't be this like, oh, but what if no matter what choice Superman makes, like there's a utilitarian argument that people die either way. I'm like, no, Superman is cool because he is very strong and he has lots of power.
Okay, is Toxin the worst comic book character of all time?
Pretty bad.
Maybe. Well, this was a rough issue. Hopefully the next one is.
Yeah, I really like the first two issues. I've been on board with a lot of this Sale and Loeb stuff, but yeah, this was a rough one.
I was off board with how slow it was, but this I'm just like, this stinks.
This was real bad. But we'll see what happens with the next one. What is it? The winter? Yeah, winter's coming up.
Winter's coming.
I'm
I think there's a
sure.
Game of Thrones series coming on soon, by the way.
I mean, I do like Sale's design of Superman, but I'm still just like, I know I'm an old man yelling at a cloud, but I just think of like, especially I've been reading Bill Everett's issues of Menace comics from the 1950s, and it's just like he has a full page splash of Lex Luthor like drinking a brandy. I'm like, this shouldn't be a splash. This should be like a part of a 9 or 7 panel grid or something. Like you don't need. I don't need to see that as a giant action.
Bill got behind a day. He needs Bill got behind a day. He's like, well, shit. Yep. Okay, I got to fill out 2 pages today. Lex Luthor's.
But we'll get to winter next time, and we'll see if this thing can stick any sort of a landing here. Our main read, though, is going to be some 80s Batman. We are going to be reading Shadow of the Bat.
No, not Shadow of the Bat.
Oh.
Wrong one.
Oh, sorry, you're right. You were reading a story called Shadow of the Bat.
No.
That was no, it's not even called Shadow of the Bat. Shit. So never mind all that. We're reading
Alan Grant,
Detective Comics.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Alan Grant is a renowned Batman writer. He created Scarface, Zaz, Ratcatcher of Ratcatcher 2 fame from Suicide Squad. He passed away a couple weeks ago. And a lot of people seem to note that he had written some really great Batman comics. And I'm going to be honest, I've not really ever heard of him. And I'm not really sure of his era, although I do know his characters. And it sounded like a good era. And I know Chris had read recently a bunch of 80s Batman. So we were going between Shadow of the Bat and the one that we are actually doing, which is Detective Comics 583 through 586, where Zaz and Ratcatcher are created. Zaz is in Birds of Prey, right? Scarface. Shit.
Zaz is in Shadow
We're
of the
all
Bat
messing up. Oh my god.
Detective 583 through 586. That's what we're reading. It's on Disney Infinite. Yes.
Yeah, I was confused because I thought this story arc was called Shadow of the Bat, and then later Alan Grant had a series called Shadow of the Bat. I was wrong. It's just, Shadow of the Bat comes later. There's no Shadow of the Bat coming. That's just a cool name.
It's a cool name. That'd be a great title for a movie.
Would be. Detective Comics 583 through 586. What did we say the story here was? That Batman's like locked in Arkham Asylum?
No,
or
that's Shadow
like
of the Bat.
No. Damn it. God damn it.
We'll get it right.
What happens in this one?
He meets Scarface, a mystery.
Okay.
Who is the new gang leader in Gotham? That
that's
has
like
a mysterious scar.
It's a ventriloquist dummy.
That's a spoiler, Vince.
Don't spoil it.
Who could this mystery guy be?
Okay. But yeah, that's written by Alan Grant and art by Norm Brayfogle, an artist who I don't think we've talked about at all either. So that should be fun.
It's from February '88 is the time period.
February '88. My goodness. So that should be an era of Batman. Have we read anything from that era of Batman?
Death in the Family. It's probably which and
it's shortly after year 2, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we've also
very good. Very good. I think a big DC heavy episode next time. What else do we have to mention here? How's Your Stupid Minds doing, Chris?
Your Stupid Minds is doing great. We just released last week an episode about a movie that I'm sure neither of you have ever heard of before, called Heavenly Sword, based on the PlayStation 3 video game from 2007. It's a 2014 CGI animated movie starring Anna Torv from Fringe as the wielder of the Heavenly Sword.
I saw y'all posted that, and I was like, is that the same title as the video game? I just assumed it was like a different thing. Okay.
Nope, it's the same animation quality as the video game. It's the same story as the video game. I guess loosely.
Weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Interesting. Vince, how about you?
Nothing's going on. Just kind of hanging in out, reading comics and doing not much else. I got a Steam Deck, playing that. Replayed Portal 1. That's pretty much what I've been doing. Playing with the Steam Deck.
That's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, playing games. I've been in fully PC build researching mode. Although now I'm like, do I wait until new graphics cards come out? Did I mention this last time?
Yes, you did. Exact same words.
Damn it! All right, well, we're done here. Let's wrap it up. Vince, thank you so much. I love you.
Love you too, bud.
Chris, thank you. I love you.
Let's get it over with.
Yeah, let's get it over with. All right. Listener, we love you as well. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Have a good night. Bye.